Today's topic will be about the discussion of the new player in the payment market, and those are the non-banking providers of the payment services. We will be talking about the expectations of the consumers from the introduction of such institution, and also representatives of business, how they are planning it, how they see it, what they can offer to the consumers, and what expectations and what benefits can there be. So we will look at this process from different sides. Actually, we were talking about it in the strategy for the development of the national payments market, and that is supposed that it is destined to facilitate the development of competition in the payment market, increase the accessibility of the payment services, and smoothen the negative effects from the activity of various ecosystems. So we were discussing with the market players different models according to which those people could work from the point of view of shaping the new client experience and how to meet the demands of the market and that connection. So let me introduce the participants to today's discussion. Maria Shevchenko, head of the board of directors of QIWI Bank. Alexander Samsonov, head of a direction of strategic partnerships in Avito Holding. Anna Polyakova, deputy CEO of 1S company. Tatiana Glazacheva, director general of CloudPayments company. And development manager for non-telecom projects and digital services in VimpelCom, Mr. Ivan Savkin. So let me say a few words. To begin the discussion, let me say a few words in a congested form about the prerequisites for the appearance of the emergence of this institute in our market, and that is the development and increasing the accessibility of internet and other digital technologies in our daily life, which is changing the expectations of the consumers from the payment services, and actually is shaping the demand for newer innovations. And non-banking organizations are actually prepared to offer in the market the new products and services which would facilitate the seamless client path formation, and active participation of such organizations in the payment markets would facilitate the development of the competitions, maintaining that competition in the payment segment, and will increase the accessibility and lower the costs of the consumers. At least they are expecting that very eagerly, and the international practice shows that there are similar institutions on the international market, in the European market, and the Chinese market, and in the US, and the research institution, there are such institutions elsewhere, and it's over 35% in some segments. In Russia, this topic has been discussed over several years, and after consultations with the banking community and participants to the market, we have prepared the legislative proposals for introduction of that institute. We have discussed it with the professional associations, the largest players, and finally now it is going through the interdepartmental approval process. So there is some support on the conceptual level for the regulation standards. The main elements include two types of non-banking suppliers of payment services, providers of payment services, One type are those who can initiate the transfer, who can send an instruction on the accounts of the client and or electronic wallets, and another one is more includes broader functions to open the wallets for natural persons and legal entities, to make aggregations and perform the acquiring services. And that's the main difference between non-banking institutions and the currently effective players. And the novelty will be that it would be done by the legal entities in Russia which are not banks, and there will be some requirements to them when it comes to their financial standing, and separate requirements when it comes to the disclosure of the client information about the financial monitoring and risk management and information safety provision for those participants who will be directly involved with the transfers. And of course, the transfers through the wallets, there will be some requirements applied to them when it comes to procedure of the interface with the banks, with the clients, when it comes to the timeline for the performance of those transfers, when it comes to protecting the bank secret, and also using special accounts in order to separate the client's funds from their own funds. And in the beginning of our discussion, when my colleagues and I will try from the client point of view to discuss this topic, I would probably ask the audience, how would you as potential consumers distribute it in terms of their significance, the potential effects from the entry of a new player in the market in your apps. I propose to find our section and choose the button voting and choose one of the proposed effects from the expectations. To choose the highest priority one, we will try to rank the proposed effects, and that is something that was discussed in the course of our preliminary discussions, and that's how I propose to build the context of our discussion. The password is today's date, 4 ones. It's a magical number, and let us load it. We'll now see the results of the voting on the screen.
Результаты голосования сейчас будут выведены на экран.
So, would you vote? So I propose to put on the screen the results of the voting, and you can see now that actually the most significant for the consumers is that such participant would in the first place represent a unified interface, a one-stop shop for access to different services, and secondly, it will be the expectation that we expect the emergence of the new payment services, the new interface models, and thirdly, it is the increasing the comfort and accessibility of the payment services. So it can be done via a single interface, and no matter how unlikely it is, its reduction of cost, which is also quite important, a little bit more than 19%. So now that we see what the consumers want, I propose to discuss what we can offer our potential non-banking suppliers of the payment services, what they can offer to the business and how that can help businesses to satisfy the needs of the clients. My first question is to the representative of Avito company. Avito is one of the largest marketplaces in the market, and on this side we see different services, different types of the clients. So Alexander, can you tell us whether it is interesting for your company to play this role of providing payment services to your clients and to increase the level of services? Would that enable increasing it? And what new tools for the interface with them do you see? Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it seems that it's easy to talk about positive things because we see that it's a very positive thing. The status of non-banking payment institution is actually something very promising and positive. But speaking about Avito, in principle, we are an IT company and we try to use our to put together all our technology pillar independently, but financial services is something that we never touched. We are not experts in there, and we always relied on our partners, and we would like to thank them very much for that. Nevertheless, we were in parallel developing the expertise inside, and we are shaping the team, and we want to move towards controlling the infrastructure and its independent development. And actually, I think central bank is helping us, and the status of a non-banking payment institution implies something that we already can do very well. It's the development of our internal billing, and we can develop it by ourselves, which means for us that in the first place we are able to provide certain accessibility level, because we depend on the accessibility of the partners, flexibility of their products and their backlogs, and it will be very important that we will be relying entirely on ourselves. And which is even more important, we will interface with payment systems ourselves, and with the transfer system, prompt transfer system as well, and that will yield a positive effect on the payment infrastructure within the company. This is when it comes to the technology issue and accessibility, but when it comes to the products and the clients and their comfort, I think that due to that we would be able to better control the product. It is no secret that at Avito there is a very specific group of products, both vertical and financial ones, because it's C2C. It's not something that you can pull out of the box. There are many specific things which we know best. So the customization of the products in the first place of the payment products will be on our side. And of course we will be able to to make products for narrow segments, for the interface both with the legal and entities and persons, private and professional sellers who are natural persons. So the existence of those persons, those parties, actually is very good in terms of our possibility of applying that status, and we will thereby be able to give more customized, more specific products for the user. For example, now we are accepting the users due to our partners for payment, for delivery, and we can inside our ecosystem let the clients use those funds, invest them for new shopping, or used in our internal wallets. And actually wallets is something that we are pursuing in the nearest future, and the question is whether to take it from the market or to use it by ourselves. And using stuff by ourselves is probably an independent solution, but it's a more appropriate thing. We are not talking about more difficult licenses for crediting or the emission of card-related products. It's not our future, not the close future, but the infrastructure, the wallet-related solutions is something that we need here and now. And so that's about it. Thank you. And it actually does seem like it's a very comprehensive service, and the only thing that it's missing are payments in this comprehensive product which is provided to the client. And we have on many occasions discussed it in the framework of different discussions, so we can just go to the bank to make payment. We don't want to do that, and it reduces the conversion level if you have to dedicate time for that. But if you can do it here and now, it's a lot better. It's what is required. And Alexander has mentioned the end user, and he was trying to focus on his clients. But of course, all the services to the end user are provided in interface with the partners, so it is really important to understand that side, how to organize it. And I would like to address my next question to Anna. Anna is from 1S. It's one of the biggest representatives in the market who provide to larger and smaller companies different types of software, making it more comfortable and allowing to create those unique products. So Anna, how do you see as a company, as a potential supplier of payment services, how do you see the needs of businesses in this single interface? Because they understand that they need it, and how to organize that access. Is there such understanding? Maybe already now you are proposing such solutions. Good afternoon. Actually, I was very happy about the results of voting, which means that what Vanessa is doing coincides what the consumers expect from us, and actually one-stop shop for different banks is now rated first. So it's a kind of an approach which aims at providing access to our users within our program interface with all the necessary services for businesses, such as forum systems integration with the services which helps to manage your business. And of course it doesn't make any sense to discuss the advantages because there is no need for extra entries, additional entries of the information. There are no entry faults, and the interface when it comes to technical point of view, we are walking the integration path, going through integration path, and we are offering seamless solutions when the accountant and the manager are working from the program, and it's used for mandatory accounting and managing your business. And already now we have integration with the banks when it comes to initiation of payment, but it's not standardized. Therefore, if there is a single API and if that can be attached to the program, and we can give business an opportunity to launch it from the window, users window, it will end up being very beneficial for the people and for business. And that would enable people. We will make a single entry point from the program, and that will help us spread that institute for quite a broad market. Because now about 1.5 million organizations are working in the programs, which is 6 million users who are actually using payment instructions daily, so payment forms. So it's a single use solutions, partnership programs, but the benefits of the business is something that business is in the best position to talk about. So I would like to address one question to the representatives of our three companies as how they see the organization of businesses for the increasing of for the growth of internal efficiency, how that can reflect on the cost, on the price of the goods which are being provided, including the payments. So, Ivan, let us start from you. It's good that you are raising this topic on the part of the communications operator. To access such payment schemes is something that happens very often, but providing a convenient service for the clients is something for which we need to introduce a well-arranged payment infrastructure. And there are intermediaries, there are participants who are not interested in doing that directly in order for you to do it. And in the first place, from the point of view of the business, it lowers the cost. But on the other hand, it's not a key thing. So a reduction of the cost of the payment services is not our priority. The most important thing is to give the client convenient and new payment forms in the interface that one is used to. So if you are using a mobile operator's interface, you can use payment functionalities therein to which we are used, interface to which we are used, and mobile number and the number of the banking identifier, mobile number, it's a key payment factor, mobile phone number. So we can use it, and so you can use it to connect, to make the payments, and that allows us to provide to all clients the new payment services, and the choice will be clients, and we will understand why it was such a lucky, such a promising initiative for us. So thank you, Ivan. And now 2 words. Actually, I fully agree with my colleague, but I would also like to note that for us, reduction of the cost is also very important, because we are not super strong ones when it comes to financial technologies. it has never been in such demand. We were not pressed for that because we're becoming a traditional platform, and in order to scale several-fold, the cost of the transaction is quite important, is very important, and simplifying the interface and excluding additional commissions for the participants of the commission of this transaction is of utmost importance for us, and it can allow us to scale the business, and we can reinvest that commission in the business and give additional possibilities to the client to subsidize the delivery, to make it not for 300 but for 49 rubles, and it's a key thing. And apart from the client path verticalization of the business, the lowering the prime cost is very important for us. And the floor is yours. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to see here my colleagues. It's a wonderful date, 11th day of the 11th month, and for 11 years the payment services have been regulated by Federal Law 161. So for 11 years we have been there, and we are very happy that 27% want the appearance of the new payment services, and it would be good to discuss it with you. So there are many payments, there are many methods which everybody does. So let's have a new one, a different one, and we are overly regulated, we are overregulated on the part of our bank, because we either are a bank in ourself, or like QIWI, or like non-banking financial organizations. And we actually have approached our partners. We have taught the banks to perform the settlements, perform the payments for us. Now my concerns are that over the past several years, the financial organizations, the banking institutes were very happily building ecosystems around themselves. And what we're seeing now is that the IT companies can make very good products. Now they want to become banks, and they want to assume those payment functions. But again, here I think we shouldn't try to cheat and conceal things, and we should just say straight out that what kind of functions will be vested in the representatives of this new substance, what new player. Most likely there will be reporting, and the individual entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals will just go probably to small banks rather than to non-banking institutions, because we have actually at some point eliminated, purged the market of the abusers. And now it is extremely important for us. Of course, introducing a new player like Avito, they might actually choose partnership over other options eventually. So, but what are those obstacles that prevent people from acting themselves as payment institution? Barriers or something like that, but I wouldn't equalize the banks and vendors of payment services. Of course, the banks make a huge list of different products. They service the retail, they service corporate clients, and here we are talking about one of the easiest, the simplest, not elementary, but one of the simplest functions which used to be traditionally performed by by the other organizations. So, of course, we cannot just go ahead and say, give me your wallets, I will be transferring money. Of course, this draft document, it outlines a certain procedure for entering the market. There are certain requirements to the managers, and since the non-banking payment organizations which will be working with the money directly will have to you have to observe some safety standards, and even all the payment officers used to always follow some standards even before the new regulations has appeared. So there should be participants on the list. There is a practice for their access. It should be open information, and all the consumers should be able to see that, and they will also be the subject for our oversight. Yet we are also reforming, redefining the oversight functions at the Bank of Russia. We are going to perform proportionate administration, and the requirements to the organization and reporting of our subjects, of our supervised entities, depends on the scope and nature of their activity, and the narrower it is, the smaller is its scale, and the smaller the cost, the lower and easier are the requirements applied. And of course the task is not to release, to start a new type of banks, for which it will be very expensive to organize that activity, and they will be selling stuff to the clients. We will also try to do the governance, do the regulation, not as through statutes, but through standards and recommendations. But of course, it's not everybody acting at one's will. There will be some order, a certain degree of order. So it's about time to ask a question. We have been trying to compare this easy licensing. So how would this exist in the market? And our session today is called At Home Among Strangers. And who are those strangers? If there is space for the maneuver, I would like to ask Maria, because QIWI Bank is actually with a player with a great experience, and you are working with the wallets, and actually your entire status, your entire track of development. Does it show that there is some space for partnership? Do you see any menace, any threat in those, the emergence of such players? When we saw the documents, it was first the sensation of the threat, and then because we are actually treating very positively the appearance of the new players, and if Law 161 did not appear 10 years ago, we have actually come along road, and actually the banks themselves and microfinancing organizations have become our clients. We help them collect the payments of the clients in order to return their credits. So we do want to show the banks where their benefit is, and there is actually a question to the previous discussion that we need certain expertise. that there should be AML practice, there should be anti-fraud and other security provision practices. Otherwise, it will yield to the loss of trust on the part of the clients, and it does cost some money, whereas in the market it's a big practice, and we actually can provide already solutions such as electronic wallets for aimed at anti-fraud, different solutions for KYC and others, KYC. So, but the main question for the banks are tariffs and open API, because you have to pull money out of somewhere, and if you don't have such a possibility, you're not gonna earn the money. And I like the discussion about this voluntary/mandatory API introduction, because QIWI was running around the market because the clients could top up their electronic wallets very easily, and to make that happen, the bank QIWI had to apply a lot of effort. But if there are any protection tariffs introduced, then certain elements of market economy and competition may actually be lost. Of course, the question of regulation of the tariffs, we don't want to go too deep into that, because the economy should to a large extent be shaped by the market conditions, and the topic of API is actually quite an interesting topic. And on the eve of Finapolis, we have actually published our concept, and the API transition stage by stage has actually been envisaged in that publication. So this type of service actually probably will be a mandatory feature. Probably it's not the horizon of tomorrow, but actually synchronizing the legislation and providing a chance to work in this with this type of function with the subject, because API is a kind of tool that will provide for seamless integration. However, I think that as far as I know, in the current set of conditions, many partners are already working in that format, and many banks are telling about it. And Tatiana's company are such examples, and she can also comment on that, and she can tell, because her company is also providing some solutions, and we can see that there is a broad potential, broad capacity for the partnership, and for the participants together with the clients to merge, to join, pool their efforts. In open API, of course, is if it exists in the framework of the new standardized, among the new standardized procedures, and if there are technical protocols for interface, I think this will give a good vector for unified standardization, because like it was told, I think we have integration now with many banks already, and we actually are pulling also the proposals from the bank on leasing, on fast payment system, and credits, and also we pass over the credit from public institutions, state institutions, about credit histories. So it's long, lengthy, it's expensive, and standard procedures and open up, they open broad set of possibilities in order to make a one-stop shop for access, and to actually, for the banks, there is some benefit, because we can in that way extend our individual offers to the banks. So there is mutual benefit to be found, and that will make cheaper the development, and the integration will be available from the box. We won't have to make complex setting, not to finish it, fine-tune it on the level of the bank. So we are actually calling upon cooperation between the banks and other players in the market. So I think from the professional point of view, since you are working with those multiple solutions, I think it is the standardization that enables one to scale those solutions and actually simplifies the interface between the market players. So I think from the point of view of the telecom participants, telecom players, you're also using those solutions. Yes, we are, and I think the key thing is that you are giving a possibility how to correctly propose to the client. And it remains on the shoulder of the business, on the shoulders of the relevant industries, and I think this is the mechanism which allows to more broadly apply and give to the client a more comfortable way. So you have a comfortable button, and you can also pull a new payment scheme or new payment method who are used to the payment schemes. So if it exists, and we can also use the development of one's own business. So it's not some super invention. It's quite accessible tool, and it gives a little bit more comfort to the end client and to the consumer, and it's kind of a service which where one has to have, for example, you can use the balance of your mobile phone account as well, which can act as one of such means. And one of the most important conclusions that I can make from the discussion that has been unfolding is that it's not about having non-banking vendors of payment processing taking away clients from the bank. The bank will retain their clients, their products, and their relations, which over many years have been actually building up. But it is important that in this case it happens so that those players have actually been helping to improve and to provide better opportunities and more service. When purchasing certain goods or certain services from those companies, by adding that opportunity of an easy and simple performance of the payment, and you don't have to go to the bank for that, and your interface with the bank will enable you to do that. And that removes actually the concerns that the banks had on the primary stage, and that's probably actually a good feeling and a good kind of a goal setting for oneself. I think it's an important moment that we were able to discuss, and once again we were able to look maybe in a narrow circle at the expectations of the consumers from the introduction of this kind of an institute. And the key priorities have been set. The clients also are for the comfort, for the new services, for the innovation, for one-stop shops, and we managed to discuss with our participants how they are seeing the organization of their interface, and we are talking here about the appropriate competition and all the methods that facilitate the development of the competition, the should be applied, and that shouldn't hurt. And of course, the non-banking payment institutions would be a model that can open a window of opportunity for the consumers, and it should help them for people to monetize and develop their businesses, and that's of course of not a small importance. And I would also propose to my participants to maybe in conclusion of our conversation to briefly in a concise manner state there are three or two maybe most important tendencies that you would mark and that would enable to change or improve your business, because that business is always different from such by using such initiatives which are emerging in the market, such as this new type of marketplace that we have been discussing. Maybe we can look at it more broadly, not in the context of this discussion, but something that would give a positive impetus, positive push forward for your activity. Maybe we should start with the banks, who probably have more expertise, and there is more space for thought. So banks are really arranging their strategies in a better way. Maria, I think we are not a 100% bank, we are a fintech company / bank, but I think that if we had cross-border NBPIs, that would have been wonderful. We don't have limitations actually. There are opportunities for cross-border operations. The opportunities of that kind are quite broad. Tatiana, I think it's a competitive environment story for sure. And of course, we are in a vacuum of sorts. And we, in the first place, are looking at you, and the changes are small. And we are trying to tune in, to adjust ourselves. And our shareholder, Tinkoff Bank, which was always at the forefront and is using the most advanced technologies, nevertheless, it will help all the players in the market. It will be helpful for all the players in this market to approach their business and expand certain boundaries, and probably just look into this young idea as something promising. Alexander, in the first place, thank you very much, and Tatiana, also thank you for shedding some light on the risks, because I think I would say we only spoke about positive sides, and it seems like that. But if we would use many bank officers who would be governing, controlling all that process, we would probably ask the bank to for the support of our non-banking institution. And it's a question of the balance, and we want to focus ourselves on the clients, and we spoke a lot about the client expertise, client path, client tracks, and essentially I would confirm that competition consists, and already consists, in the client's experience and not some high-tech products. Therefore, for us, the status will enable us not to be of course, banks should not take an offense, but but to be more flexible and not focus on values rather than technical limitations. And I would like to continue the topic raised by Alexander, and I think this new institution can significantly help us. And we should probably improve this experience and provide new opportunities to our users, to the businesses. The initiation of payments, of course, we have our own direct banking tech solutions, and many are connecting and they're saying how wonderful it is and how wonderfully all their functions work, but it requires some support efforts from the banks, and there are quite complex settings on the part of the client. So I think this is something that would remove the barrier when it comes to API, and the business will get access to more comfortable technologies and possibly, thanks to that, find out about the new services of the banks. Ivan, two words that should have been told. First of all, it's not being indifferent. And not being indifferent for members of the professional community who are filling this audience. It's always good to have a discussion, to have necessary initiative. Not being indifferent, to care on the part of the regulator, to use the international examples. And that over a dozen years has been showing that from the point of view of FinTech has been an example. It was setting the trend, and it should enable the business to develop, should enable the regulator to function, and should help the consumer. So I think those are very good words which can probably serve as a motto for our movement forward. This lack of indifference, not being apathetic. I would like to thank our esteemed participants for being involved, for the discussions in various formats on various platforms, and their inputs actually helped us to shape that proposal, and including the additions to the draft law. So we should be moving ahead very consistently, very zealously, and the market will choose the right set of conditions that would enable us to become involved, to be enthusiastic in the market. And we want to wish you better, more interesting conversations in the days to come. Thank you very much. Please introduce yourself so that everybody. Ms. Yusupova from Financial Innovation Association. What is the status of Federal Law 115, according to Federal Law 115? What would be the status for those vendors? Whether they will be fully fledged for the Federal Law 115 and the anti-laundering, including the anti-laundering legislation. Federal Law 115 will not come as a non-banking vendor of banking services. I think I won't deliberate too much on that, but it is November, the month of November, and I think that prior to the end of this year we will complete the interdepartmental approval, and by the spring session it will be entered in the State Duma, because certain rules are being drafted. So it will be more appropriate when this design, when those formulas are already finished. So I think that in any case it's not something cast in stone, carved in stone. We will be receiving your feedbacks, and in any case, it will be easier to work with the text. So with the help of your association, we can work with any association, but from the point of view of rule number 115, everybody who is working with the clients should be going through, and the requirements which are applied from the point of view of the control and what the banks are doing with the clients' funds in order to avoid different schemes, and what the Russian financial monitoring is working with, they're actually being actually entered in there. So it's a topic which is not behind the framework of the status, and once again it's one of the functions which are currently being performed by the banks and non-banking payment vendors. So those are proportionate requirements but to those type of activity, but we should not permit for regulatory arbitration, and the minimum requirements, of course, will be established. Good afternoon, Comfort Booking, Elena Isakovskih. Would like to find out whether the non-banking payment institution will be able to issue cash receipts, and whether they can be working with the fast payment system directly. Yes, they will have that opportunity of working with the second type for the organization of that those kind of vendors, non-banking payment institution of the second type, but they won't be able to print cash receipts because it's electronic wallets and non-cash processors. My name is Alexander Popov, Rental Bank. What will be the cybersecurity requirements to NBPI of the first and second type? Would be bank level or banking type payment agents? What kind of auditing will be required, etc.? I would probably professionally, I cannot say professionally what kind of security is required, but I think that a certain level of information security should be envisaged. I think it will be on the level of payment agents. Let me add a little bit here, because everything that has to do now with the players about whom we are talking, they have quite serious infrastructures, and there will not be too many questions with those who are applying for this status. There will be more questions about KYC and other types of protocols. So in any case, this draft, this bill will be entered to the State Duma by the beginning of the next year, and then it will be another turn in the discussion, and the understanding, detailed understanding of the market will be put together. But when? Tell me when. At the beginning of the year, but not January 1, but there will be New Year's Day. So it will be early January, beginning of February, maybe end of next year. So if I remember it right, our strategy for national payment system development 2023 is dedicated to preparing and approval and actually readiness to the adoption of this law, because it is important for us to synchronize ourselves with the open API process. So I think 2023 will be actually dedicated to the finalization of the regulatory provisions but some of them will be delayed actually, which will something that will require additional preparation on the part of the market. Thank you, colleagues. Our time is up, and thank you again.